Very much. Quick shot. Samsung Galaxy securing the first game of the series here, but I feel that this game went very much the way that we had talked about, you know, the strengths and weaknesses of both of these teams leading up to the start of it all. H2K with a couple really big early kills, but ultimately Samsung Galaxy's late game decision-making superior.
Yeah, 100%. I think that when you give away a draft like this, when you give away Nidalee and Victor, two champions that have incredible control through the Rylai's build, it's always going to be hard to close on them. So you have to be able to stomp that early game and be able to transition into mid-game plays. And they had half of the recipe. They were picking up the kills, but they weren't getting any gold off these objectives.
Yeah, and I think the extremely early kill in the bottom lane is what H2K would have needed to win that game.
Yep.
Because they had two pretty much winning lanes in the mid and top lane if they're playing properly, and then the lane that's supposed to get smashed with the Sivir Zyra there against the counterpick Misfortune Nash gets first blood, and suddenly they're okay, not to mention they burn the Summoner spell on MF, but didn't work out.
Yeah, it's very hard to kind of gauge in this game, but we could already see, despite numerous visits from Jankos in the bot lane, the CS in the bot lane was actually pretty even. That's because this lane in the Ashe Misfortune actually smashes Sivir. Ashe has historically been a great pick into Sivir, and because the Misfortune has arisen as like a counter pick into the Zyra, it's double outrange, double poke, really easy gameplay pattern. At level 6, you will always get a kill on a Zyra or a flash. HK needed Jankos to get these ganks off, and that's why I didn't like the draft that much. It was expected that Misfortune would come out, and I hope H2K don't get lulled into a false sense of security. Luckily for them, though, there was this genius pathing across the game from the first Blood King.
Yeah, and Jankos was completely on fire. This was actually the only game Samsung was able to win after giving up first blood. So they had the early game gank, but this replay is mainly just trying to show the pathing. Notice how he completely avoids the river, takes a shallow path through the jungle so he's not going to run into the Nidalee, and he's no hesitation here because he knows Nidalee might path down there later, perfectly going for Core JJ right off the bat as well.
Yeah, and that's what he was doing there every single gank. Look at him. You
this
know,
one was great,
the
too.
Fog of War just at the edge, and we're not highlighting it for the kills. We're highlighting it for the pathing that Jankos was doing. Even now, he sends Vander out of the brush. He keeps waiting there. This guy masters Fog of War. He's aware of the pink ward. Communication with Odoamne, the 2v2 top lane, it was definitely won here. So if H2K can just draft a safe bot lane and keep playing around this top lane with Odoamne, that might be a better recipe because Jankos is going off.
Yeah, you mentioned that Jankos needed the ganks to work, and they all did. 100% kill participation for him, even in this loss. Also, very interesting and smart itemization from him, going for that Righteous Glory very early. We saw the effectiveness of that in making picks.
Yeah, and even the way he used it. So he speeds up with the Ghost, with the Righteous Glory. He'll get close to his opponent, wait for the Righteous Glory to proc, which is actually an AoE slow, a mini Randuin's as if it were. Then he throws the axe, hoping that they would flash already. He is really mastering this champion. However, this build requires a snowball lead, but he is consistently getting it.
Yeah, but Spawn, if we're going to talk about Jankos, we got to talk about his counterpart in Ambition, because the team goes down a couple early kills to a lot of teams that would shake them on a stage like this, but the veteran here stepping in and helping them out.
And that's what's so impressive about it. I mean, able to line up the first spear, sure, bad flash out of Ryu, but he comes back for the return gank, which is what we love to see out of these junglers. And Ambition, we talk about him so much because he is the shot caller and the leader of this young squad, and if they're going to have any chance in the early game, he needs to continue to be able to match some of that pace. And then he went back into the jungle, and this is the impressive thing, and just farms up a storm. This guy's on 5 items at the exact same time as his mid laner. He is doing work at the same time that Jankos is.
Still, though, I feel there's more, like, we got to criticize Ryu more than praise Ambition. I mean, he landed one spear on Ryu from Fog of War, then the other one was in a gravity field. Crown is getting, or is smashing Ryu in lane, rather, at the moment. Ryu was getting outtraded very early. Cassio into the Victor lane, that should never happen.
And that was my biggest problem with the draft. I mean, you can talk about winning lane, losing lane, but at a certain time, Comfort comes out king. And we've seen so many times that Crown on this Victor is better than anyone in the world. I mean, this guy puts in overtime and is able to pick up side lane farm to get ahead and then just team fights like a machine. I mean, I really don't think that you can afford to give it to him.
And Jack, you were looking at this mid lane matchup, coming in saying that Ryu was one of the members for H2K that has stepped up the most coming into Worlds, but here he is. He goes down 2 early kills, is losing in CS. That's not what we want to see out of him.
You don't want to see Ryu dying over and over again, and we saw a little bit of that this game. And yes, it was a little bit inexcusable. You do, though, give over the Nidalee, and you just get pressured in the mid lane. Nidalee is so good at pressuring and ganking the mid lane. Even if you're not landing spears, you just walk into the lane and auto-attack that, and you can win the lane just via that. Yes, Ryu played badly. Yes, he has to bounce back, but they did pick him into a bit of a corner.
Absolutely. All right, now let's go ahead and take another look at Samsung Galaxy's 29-minute ace, brought to you by Acer. We talked about, okay, H2K, they're ahead. They're looking to make decisions, and Krepo, you had talked about the importance of Baron in this matchup. Swan, it all goes awry for them here.
Yeah, and when you have a look at this, as soon as the teleport comes in, you should back away. Instead, they go for a little bit of a hybrid fight as they're retreating to the top side. I think that when you burn that many flashes, you go over the back of the pit, you just get the heck out of dodge because there was really nothing that H2K could do once Cuvée entered the fight.
Exactly, and this was essentially the end of the game. Cuvée became tanky enough to tank the front line. Crown got enough damage to just stop any flank that was coming in. And that was the weakness we had for H2K coming into Worlds, was their inability to play around Baron properly to close the game.
But we have to put that Baron call into context. So this was a pick-off from H2K. They get control, and then they see Cuvée in the bottom lane right there, so they know they need to somehow get his teleport on cooldown. So they start the Nash. That's a fine call. The problem with H2K's Baron call is not necessarily the start of the calls, is that they can't pivot mid-call.
It's the communication within the call.
Yes, the communication in the team fights or within complex Baron situations just isn't fast enough. If they back off the second that teleport gets channeled, they get the teleport cooldown, they can trade a turret, but then they play the next part of the map with TP advantage. That's what they technically should have done, but because there's so much pressure for these guys and they're trying to rush it down and somebody just makes the call, finish the Baron, they're fishing a barrel for Samsung, and that's the problem. They don't pivot quick enough on their teamfight shot calling.
All right, now let's talk about moving forward to game 2. H2K swapping the blue side here, no substitutions. What do we want to see out of them? Of course, Nidalee being left up was big for Samsung Galaxy, but what's the response here?
I think that when you have a look at this, I think like bottom lane needs to go further in favor of H2K, in my opinion, if they're going to win. I don't think you can actually pick just the utility in your bottom lane and expect them to get smashed because they don't like to play that style. You know the Ottawamne right now, if you give him a counter pick, is going to be fine. Pick the strong lane for your duo and be able to take it to it. Don't take Zyra when the misfortune is available.
Yeah, they have an extra ban in a sense, I would hope, now that they're on blue side. I want them to take away Crown's Victor because that guy has been crushing on that champion.
There we have it. Samsung Galaxy has taken a 1-0 lead in this best of 5. Stay with us because Worlds 2016 continues after the break.
I see a problem. I eliminated Mr. Vander, so if ambition is problem to you, just call for it.
He's a problem, he's a problem.
Okay, well, there we go. This is going to be problems. Ambition is low! Okay, H2, what was that?
They have no I go here.
Go, Victor.
I'm trying to come.
Exhaust MF.
I'm on my way. I'm no, Victor.
Nice! They're looking for it. That's a kill. They've traded 1-for-1. Yanko's running for his life. Ryu's cut down. And with Cuvée chasing, you're never going to outrun an Echo. He's looking for Forgiven. The damage isn't there, though. Some of the heal was used. Cuvé's in trouble. Still got a GA. Ottawamne's already dead. He didn't even get down the slicing maelstrom. Crown gets his 5th of the game. Samsung Galaxy secure the win and continue their winning streak at Worlds.